as they were already very angry she'd given her mother a key to begin with. Now, my mother-in-law still believes she did absolutely nothing wrong, and is playing victim to my wife every chance she gets. She's not allowed over anymore, for obvious reasons. And I've been repeatedly called a monster by her and my wife. I've never been more glad that mother-in-law has no friends, because then she'd be telling them all her convoluted version of the story to paint me as a villain. I just know it. She was told how much my key collection is roughly worth, and what kind of felony charges she could be facing. Though my collection was returned fully intact. So she may get the charges lessened. I'd like to hope she gets a decent punishment at least. As I said in my previous post, my wife also paid her mother's bail and what she owed to the pawn shop with money out of our joint bank account, and then smugly told me that she wouldn't be putting the money back. Basically, that was a terrible power move, and her only way to try and put all the cost on me. I've since removed everything I had in that account, and stopped all future payments to it so she can't spend my money too. And I've changed my passwords to pretty much everything. My wife flipped the hell out on me for it once she finally checked the account a couple days ago, because that meant that what she paid for mother-in-law's bail and reimbursing the pawn shop was all in her money only. And now there was no more access to my funds to supplement her own with. I just ignored her tantrum and went into the home office to watch anime on my computer. She banged on the door for a while demanding I talk to her. I just stayed quiet and put on headphones. My wife has repeatedly demanded I drop all charges against her mother, and even said that if I really loved her, I would not only stop all this, I'd cover the cost too. When I kept refusing, she moved into the spare bedroom. She tried to kick me out of the master bedroom first. But I made it clear I'm not giving up the master bedroom when she's the one at fault. She tried to start taking my stuff out, but I just blocked her while pointing my finger at her face and said no. Like I was talking to a dog. She ended up crying and saying I was demeaning her. But I didn't care. Then for some more deception on her part, she admitted to me out of pure spite that until this mess had started, she'd been planning on letting her mother come live with us full-time soon because of the state of her hoarder house. She boasted that she was just gonna move her in while I was at work. I told her we were supposed to be equal partners before this all happened. And I was sick of her unilateral decision-making. And as long as I'm paying 50% of the lease, her mother will not be living here. And if she tried, I'd throw all her mother's stuff out immediately. My wife looked like she wanted to explode, and stormed off to have a drink and a loud phone call with her mother in the kitchen. I just started removing her stuff from the master bedroom and left it in the other room for her. I've put a new lock on the door to the master bedroom too. I had my wife served at her job, which she said really embarrassed her in front of her colleagues. And she flipped out on me again once she got home. Apparently she didn't take my threats of divorce seriously until those papers were actually in her hands. She said I couldn't do this. But I told her I was done. She made it more than clear where she stands. I told her I learned a rather interesting phrase online. When people show you who they really are, believe them. And she's clearly shown me who she really is. And it's not the woman I fell in love with. That woman disappeared and got replaced with an entitled mommy's girl who refuses to act her age right after we got married. Which makes it pretty obvious she did that intentionally. At this point I don't think she ever loved me. Just my wallet. I can't stay married to a woman who conned me into marrying her. Then she started screaming at me that she wasn't a gold digger. So I asked her if she'd have been inclined to stay married to me if I'd done the same things to her. She tried to deny it at first, then looked around like she was trying to find a better answer. Then she just gaslit to deflect as usual. But I had none of it. I told her right then and there that I'm not renewing the lease on the house with her because I don't want to live with a petulant woman-child I can't trust. And if she wants to keep the house, she can go ahead and start a new lease. To move her mother in once I'm gone. Finally, that's when the real waterworks started. She said I was destroying our family. And I said, what family? And pointed out how we don't have kids, and her mother is more important to her than me. We have no family. Then I just walked away. She loudly cried in the living room for hours, but I ignored her. Now she's giving me the hardcore silent treatment, and won't look me in the eyes. I'm actually enjoying it. Which just seems to make her angrier. As an added bonus, I warned my current landlord about my wife wanting to move her mother in. I gave him all the details I had about mother-in-law, the state of her hoarder house, and how much of a deceptive mommy's girl my wife is. And warned him that if he let my mother-in-law live in any property he owns, she would turn it into an utter disaster. He thanked me for telling him, and is now not going to let my wife renew the lease on her own if she tries. He'll be advertising the property soon. My wife has no idea yet, and likely would have only just barely been able to afford the house with her mother's help anyway.